Quartermain and the Cult of Cthulhu is only $3. Yeah, this is another short title published by Dossman Games. The same Dossman Games that published Dead Trash. Quartermain took me 4.5 hours to beat. That's about 1.5 hours worth of gameplay per every dollar you've spent. That's pretty damn good. The best way I could describe this game is that it plays like if Wolfenstein 3D had Doom 1 and 2's advancements in map design, but with actual 3D. The maps are vertical, there are stairs, and later on get quite large. Hey, Jarek here. I'm a dragon on the internet. I don't think Wolfenstein 3D was made for a dragon of my size. Let me be real with you for a second. This angle is probably really weird to see for my longtime viewers. You guys have been used to just seeing my desk this entire time. Yeah, my bed was just right next to where the camera was filming. I enjoy being able to roll out of bed and then just start grinding on a video. If I need to take a break and get away from work, I can just go to my living room or leave the house and go get some food. I've gotten a lot of questions about how and why I VTube, so I'm gonna give you a quick behind the scenes in a minute or so, and back to the video. Every Monday I stream on Twitch, twitch.tv/Jarek4GamingDragon if you want to hang out. I plug in my Leap motion camera, which tracks my hands. I start VC Face, which is a very light VTubing software. I open OBS and I stream the game Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, however long it takes me to beat the game. As soon as I beat that game, to keep stuff fresh in my mind, I immediately write a script and then I put on my Index, my VR headset. I got a lot of people asking me how I do mocap, and the simple answer is I don't. It's just full body tracking. I have a tracker for my hip, a tracker for each foot that I keep on my ankle because if I put it on my foot, the feet break. DigiFeet are complicated, don't worry about it. Then I boot up VRChat and just calibrate those trackers. I find a world that's accurate to the game I'm covering, or I just green screen, which you can do in the camera, and that's it. It's that simple. I even use the Index mic because this thing's actually pretty good quality. The response I got to VTubing was more or less indifference, which I kind of expected because the videos are literally the same. The only difference is how I present myself, but it's still me either way. Vast majority of people haven't cared. The only people that have actively loudly disliked it are the people that want to hate on furries, which is a really small minority of people that are just loud, and they instantly got replaced by furries watching the videos. So I've been happier making these videos this way. I've really wanted to for a long time. But why am I telling any of you guys this? Well, it's because Into the AM asked me to give you guys some behind the scenes. This is technically a sponsored video. They are paying me just to show you guys this stuff. In fact, in the brief they gave me, it specifically says there is no call to action. A call to action is me sitting there going, hey, click this link and go buy this stuff. I'm not required to do that, but I'm going to anyway because I do actually like their stuff, and holy shit, they're an amazing company to work with. I'm talking to actual people that actually want to help me and my channel and genuinely make good products. I'm wearing one right now. I genuinely wear this stuff while I'm recording, while I'm filming, and while I'm just sitting around the house. I really cannot give enough kind words. It's really rare to come across a company that looks at you as a person rather than just money. So hey, intotheam.com/dragonshirts if you want 10% off site-wide. Highly recommend the company, highly recommend their products, highly recommend them as people. This went on a little bit longer than I initially planned, so let's quickly get back to the video. Quartermain, let's talk about the graphics. It obviously looks a little bit better than Wolfenstein 3D, or the VRChat world of Wolfenstein 3D that I'm in. Graphics are retro, but they still look quite nice, with a lot of variety. You'll go from small towns in the woods, to an entire train, to the distortion world straight out of Pokemon Platinum, to a large castle, to high-tech labs, to a blimp, to a large castle on fire. The game really does mix up its environment a lot, which I appreciate, because if you stared at the same thing the entire game, it would get repetitive really fast. That said, the PC release has two problems. Two rather large problems. While it does have pretty much all the settings I would expect, yes, including an FOV slider, one issue I encountered is that the audio isn't surround sound. When an enemy attacks you, that sound just plays, like it's right next to you or all around you. Not only is it difficult to find the enemies through audio cues alone, but it just kind of becomes a mess of audio. But by far the bigger problem is that you cannot change this game's resolution. Yeah, you heard that right. The resolution is stuck. There's not even an option to change it here. And when I googled it, I came across the answer. The answer, from the dev themselves, is that apparently this engine doesn't like it when you change the resolution. So, the dev just removed the option entirely. I'm sorry, but no, that's totally inexcusable. Especially because the default resolution is 720. No one plays on 720 anymore. You're probably on either 1080, 1440, or 4K. You can't even put it to borderless window to take up your entire screen and not cause a problem. You're going to have windows on your second screen thrown everywhere. It's going to just be a nuisance to even bother trying to play like this, and your mouse is going to feel awful. Thankfully, you can change this in an INI file really easily. I played through the entire game at 1440, there were no issues, so I don't really know what the dev was talking about here. Maybe they meant that if you changed the resolution in the menu, the game would crash or something right then? I don't know, but change it in the INI file, you'll be fine, you can play the game as intended. It's just crazy to me that somebody thought removing the option to change your resolution was the logical thing to do. Oh, and there's another problem that's a massive pet peeve of mine that I almost forgot. You can't rebind the key bindings for your guns. Why does so many games do this? Why do I have to reach all the way over to 8 mid-combat to pull out my strongest weapon? Let me rebind this shit, please. As for the gameplay, it's pretty good. It has a slower feel of Wolfenstein 3D where popping around corners to shoot enemies is very important. There is the addition of reloading, but for a game like Wolfenstein 3D, this actually feels pretty natural. The weapons themselves feel satisfying. Most enemies only take 1 or 2 bullets to take down, unless it's very clear they're a stronger enemy. This makes weapons even like your starting revolver remain very useful right up until the end of the game, especially because you can fan it. You'll get an MP40 rather quickly, and it's amazing for crowd control. The enemies only taking a couple of bullets to kill at most means they can really shove a bunch of enemies at you and you can just mow them down. You get what is effectively a handheld howitzer, and that's always a fun time. And of course, you get your hands on some of that weird cult shit in the form of magic. This is, by far, your strongest attack. It literally melts everything in the game. I love fire! There's a lot more weapons than this, but I'll let you come across them on your own. There's a wide variety of enemies that aren't just German soldiers. In fact, most of the enemies aren't German soldiers. Kind of a shame, really. The world's been needing some good old-fashioned Nazi punching more than usual lately. No, but a large chunk of these enemies are from the Cult of Cthulhu. As such, their attacks are magic-based. Or, there's some weird Cthulhu shit. I love weird enemies in games like this. It makes the game more than just another military game. Also important to mention, no enemies in the game are hit scan, with the exception of a few intentionally very powerful enemy types towards the end of the game. Everyone else has projectiles of varying speed, which is an interesting way to balance enemy strength. You know, I've been talking about the game this entire time, but I haven't mentioned anything about the story. What's going on? Why are you fighting Cthulhu enemies in World War II Germany? Well, the game starts with a tale of a prosperous city, and a man with a magical box that can grant you whatever you wish. This box granted the king and council everything they wished for, and the king's dying wish was for his kingdom to be preserved forever. As a result, the entire continent of Atlantis vanished off the face of the earth. Fast forward to World War II, Quartermain, contacted by his ex, who is convinced that the Germans have found this very same box, and you find it imperative to take this box out of Germany. From this point on, the storyline doesn't really progress. The story becomes more about the trip to getting to this old German castle, and once you're there, the story truly stops entirely until the final few cutscenes. This was probably my biggest complaint with the game. The middle part of the game kind of starts to drag. and I found myself wondering when the final level was going to show up. It did redeem itself with those final levels, but man, the midpoint drags. You're mostly fighting the same enemies over and over again at this point without any new weapons. I feel like the game could have been cut down about an hour and it would have been paced much better. Another complaint I had is the lack of a map. Most of the time, this isn't a big deal. Maps are designed well enough to point you the correct direction after you find a key. Kinda similar to a game like, say, Proteus. But later in the game, these levels start getting large, like taking 40 minutes or so to complete large. If you miss where the game wants you to go after you pick up a card, well, you have no map to help you figure it out. So I just wandered around, desperately trying to find that new colored door a few times. Just show me the blue door! But that's nothing compared to my biggest complaint. Remember how I said these levels get really large? Yeah, well, there's no checkpoints. If you die, you're restarting from the beginning and have to do that whole level over again. This sucks, and is completely inexcusable for a game that came out in 2025. I died at the end of a level twice. First time was against a strong mini-boss.
And I killed myself. Alright, how far do I go?
The beginning of the fucking level.
God damn it. Like, that's the kind of shit that'll make people be like, I don't want to play this, and we'll just stop playing it.
Second time wasn't even my fault.
Oh. Well, that's a huge problem. I think I just soft blocked myself. I really don't have to play the whole fucking level over again. Nope. Oh, great. I'm probably right at the end of the level too. I'm pretty sure this is the door that I need to go through. I just have no choice, and I have to play the whole fucking level over again. It's so annoying.
So, how do I feel about Quartermain and the Cult of Cthulhu? Well, aside from the complaints I do have, it's very much so a game that carries on the torch of old Wolfenstein. If that's something you like, then it's only $3. Those complaints cannot override getting almost 5 hours of gameplay for only $3. While the no checkpoints thing is kind of a big deal, and I definitely would have stopped playing it because of that if I wasn't making a video of this game, I think most people that like Wolfenstein 3D or even just older shooters in general are gonna pick up this game and really enjoy it. And again, what's $3? So it's not really a big deal. Hey, once again, huge thanks to Into the AM for sponsoring this video in the coolest, most chill way I've ever seen. intotheam.com/dragonshirts if you want 10% off site-wide. I really like supporting this company. They support me a lot. Check it out. Also, huge thanks to my YouTube members who also support me and help pay some of my bills. So they get to see my videos early. I try to keep that relatively cheap. I want to give back to these guys. Thank you so much. And if you want to see more of my stuff that also helps me, there's a huge playlist of videos just like this up there in the top right. There's a recommended video down there in the bottom right. And there's a subscribe thing down here. Just right here. Ignore my funky lake.